living world. Early man could easily perceive the difference between inanimate matter and living organisms. A common feature of all such forms of inanimate and animate objects was the sense of awe or fear that they evoked. Societies which indulged in anthropocentric view of biology could register limited progress in biological knowledge. Systematic and monumental description of life forms brought in, out of necessity, detailed systems of identification, nomenclature and classification. Sharing of similarities among living organisms both horizontally and vertically. That all present-day living organisms are related to each other and also to all organisms that ever lived on this earth. Ernst Mayr. The Darwin of the 20th century. 100 greatest scientists of all time. Alexander Agassiz, Professor of Zoology Emeritus. Origin of species diversity, the central question of evolutionary biology. Definition of a biological species. Triple Crown of Biology, the Bolzan Prize, the International Prize for Biology and the Cruft Prize. Characteristics exhibited by living organisms. Growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment and mount a suitable response, metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organize, interact and emergence. All living organisms grow. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. A multicellular organism grows by cell division. In plants, this growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In animals, this growth is seen only up to a certain age. However, cell division occurs in certain tissues to replace lost cells. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. One can easily observe this in vitro cultures by simply counting the number of cells under the microscope. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criterion for growth. Mountains, boulders and sand mounds do grow. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living objects is by accumulation of material on the surface. In living organisms, growth is from inside. Growth, therefore, cannot be taken as a defining property of living organisms. A dead organism does not grow. Reproduction, likewise, is a characteristic of living organisms. In multicellular organisms, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. Invariably and implicitly, we refer to sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply and spread easily due to the millions of asexual spores they produce. Yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, flatworms, we observe true regeneration, i.e., a fragmented organism regenerates the lost part of its body and becomes a new organism. The fungi, the filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses, all easily multiply by fragmentation. When it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, i.e., increase in number of cells. Single-celled organisms, we are not very clear about the usage of these two terms, growth and reproduction. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce, mules, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples, etc. Reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organisms. No non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Metabolism. All living organisms are made of chemicals. These chemicals, small and big, belonging to various classes, sizes, functions, etc., are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecules. These conversions are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside all living organisms. All plants, animals, fungi and microbes exhibit metabolism. The sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. No non-living object exhibits metabolism. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems. An isolated metabolic reaction, outside the body of an organism, performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception, isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. Hence, cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of life forms. Ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to these. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organisms, pollutants, etc. All organisms, from the prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryotes, can sense and respond to environmental cues. Photoperiod affects reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms handle chemicals entering their bodies. All organisms, therefore, are aware of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, i.e., has self-consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, becomes the defining property of living organisms. Patients lying in coma in hospitals virtually supported by machines which replace heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self-consciousness. Properties of tissues are not present in the constituent cells but arise as a result of interactions among the constituent cells. Similarly, properties of cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constituents of the organelle but arise as a result of interactions among the molecular components comprising the organelle. These interactions result in emergent properties. All living organisms, present, past and future, are linked to one another by the sharing of the common genetic material, but to varying degrees. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7-1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the number and types of organisms present on Earth. We explore new areas, and even old ones. New organisms are continuously being identified. Standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN for plants. Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Mangifera represents the genus while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italic. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The first word in a biological name represents the genus while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet, i.e., at the end of the biological name and is written in an abbreviated form, e.g., Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. Cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. Taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, and dogs represent taxa at different levels classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. Basis of modern taxonomic studies. External and internal structure. Along with the structure of cell. Development process. Ecological information of organisms. Basis of taxonomy. Hence, characterization. Identification. Classification. Nomenclature. Earliest classifications were based on the uses of various organisms. Systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationships between organisms. Classification is not a single-step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category. All categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category, referred to as a unit of classification, in fact, represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like 3 pairs of jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable concrete objects which can be classified, and thus were given a rank or category. Each rank or taxon, in fact, represents a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organisms as well as of other kinds of organisms. Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. Distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets representing different organisms, but having morphological similarities. Genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. Potato and brinjal are 2 different species but both belong to the genus Solanum. Lion, Panthera leo, leopard, P. pardus, and tiger, P. tigris, genus Panthera. Family. Family has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Solanum, Petunia and Datura are placed in the family Solanaceae. Panthera, comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with genus, Felis, cats, in the family Felidae. Categories like species, genus and families are based on a number of similar characters. Order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of characters. Order. Order being a higher category, is the assemblage of families. Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polynomials, mainly based on the floral characters. Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Carnivora. Class. This category includes related orders. Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbon is placed in class Mammalia. Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Phylum. Fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds along with mammals constitute the next higher category called phylum. Based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system, are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to a higher category called division. All animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the highest category called kingdom Animalia. The kingdom Plantae comprises all plants from various divisions. Higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are the characteristics that the members within the taxon share.